welcome. My name is Ethan Stroll. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a simple work order template using DocumentsCorePack. In this example, I'll be walking you through some of the general features in order to create a work order template, including our dynamic relationship table feature and our grouping feature for our tables. This video serves as a bit of a visual guide for a sample template that we offer on our website. For more information on that sample template and a link to our website, please do consider checking out the video description down below. Now then, with that said, let's get started. So here we are back in Microsoft Word. You'll see that I've already got something started here for our work order template. We have a few different fields here that we have yet to fill in, and a small little word table down here as well. Before we get into it, I think it's important to establish what the purpose of this template is. As you might guess, the purpose of this template is to basically give a general overview of a work order. What we want is we want to have this upper section here give some of the general information about the work order, and down below we're going to fill in some more specific information as far as some of the other related entities are concerned related to this work order template. To show you the kind of goal that we want to reach with this template, it's important if we check out what exactly our goal will end up looking like. You'll see here I have provided such a goal, or such an end result that we want to achieve. We don't necessarily want to achieve the exact same result, but we do want to make sure that we have all of the fields in order to have it look something like this in the end. You'll see here we have our fields up here, the promise time, the service address, some of the general information, and we have a few different tables down here, each with a little bit of a title. And the last two tables will have some grouping applied to them here as well, with one having just one grouping section and another table having two grouping sections. This is the kind of result that we want to achieve with this template. So with that established, let's get to creating the template. First things first, of course, what's always important is whenever you start creating a template is you make sure you establish the type up here. It's already set to work order, which is perfect because that's exactly the kind of template that we want to create. We want to make sure we get the right fields from the right entity, because once you have put down your first field, you cannot change it. So we already have that set, and that's good. The next thing we want to establish is adding, through the advanced template settings and through the document name and subject tab, we want to add a dynamic name for our generated document. What we want is we want whatever is filled into this property to be the name whenever we generate a document. This means that whenever we generate a document, we will have a name for this resulting document. So, for example, we want to put down here, we want it to say work order and have the work order number. So we'll type this in, work order, that, and then plus, and then we're going to add in from the fields list here, the work order number, which we can just add by double clicking and hitting OK. So nothing looks like anything's changed there, but that's okay, that's intended. That means that once you actually generate the template, it will have that dynamic name applied. Okay, but now we have that. Now let's actually get into adding the fields, some of the general fields, to our template. So we're going to be adding the fields into these sections here, the promise time section, service address, and general section. So first we're going to go over here to service address, and we're going to start filling in some of the fields that we need here. What we need is we want to, of course, build up the address, which we can do so by adding the needed fields here. We want to have the street address first, then the postal code plus city, the state or province, and then finally the country. Since alphabetically country region is first here in this list, we'll add this down here at the bottom. Then next we'll scroll all the way down here. We'll add street 1. Then we would need state or province. Almost overlooked that one. And then we would need the postal code plus city. And wait, city, actually that's up here, so there we go. So that's the service address. Now we need to add the promise time. So go up here, and then we can add time from promised, and then time to promised. And thus we have this section up top here all filled out. Now we need to move on to this section, the general section. And from here, we're going to be starting to get into some of the lookup fields. First, of course, we still got to add a few fields from the general list. So we'll start by adding the system status, actually, which is up here. We'll put that under work order status. Then we'll scroll down, and now we need to add a few of these fields here. We would need to add the work order location. Then we would need to add the work order number, just right there. And then we would need to add the work order summary. So we have those fields from the entity itself already filled in, but now we need to go down over here to some of the lookup entities. And here, just to make it a little bit easier to see, I'll move myself out of the way. Okay. So the first one through a lookup entity that we need to access is through the billing account. And we will put that here, and we will add the account name. Billing account name is now right there. Then we can minimize that, and then we can go down, and we can go to reported by contact. We'll need to get the full name field here, so we need to scroll down. Full name here. We'll put it here under reported by, full name. There we have that. Then we will minimize that again. Next, we need to go to the service account. And then we need the account name here as well. Then two more. We need to go down to substatus, work order substatus. And we need to get the name from this, which is just right here. And then finally, we need work order type. And we will need the name there as well. So with that out of the way, then you can see that we have all of our standard fields added into this table, just like that. So with this information added, now we need to move on to our tables. We'll give it a little bit of space, and what we want to do here is there's three different tables that we want to add. We want to add our work order service task table, work order products table, and our work order service table. So 3 tables in total. To give it a little bit of organization, we're going to add in some single cell word tables, and we're just going to call this first one tasks. Then we're going to give it a little bit of space. We're going to call this one products. And then for the last one, we're going to call this one services. And of course, we will center each one just like that. All right, and a little bit more space. There we go. So we have these single cell tables up there, and now we need to get into actually adding in our tables. So the first one we're going to add in is, going in the order that we have here, our work order service task table. So we go over to the additional tab here in the template designer, go to add relationship / entity, and of course we need to find the appropriate entity, the appropriate relationship, this being the work order service task entity. Now it should be down here, yes, work order service task. Not to be confused with work order service, that will be added later. There's 3 fields we want to add from here: percent complete, estimated duration, and then just name. This table is just pretty simple. We're just going to add these 3 fields and then hit OK. For the other 2 tables, we're going to need to add a little bit more to them. So we're going to click that Add Relationship / Entity button, and we're going to find, in this case, our work order products entity. Work order product, there we go. And we'll need to find similar fields for this one. We'll need to find the estimate quantity, which is right here. We'll need the line status, and name. But there's one other field that we need to add, and for that field we need to make sure we add a link element. You can navigate down here and you'll see that there is a link element section. All we need to do is click Add, and then you'll see that there's another window that pops up similar to the last one. Now for this one, we need to actually get the product from the work order itself. So we're going to go up to the relationships dropdown, and we're going to go find that product relationship. This one you will find under the many-to-one relationship, and there you will see product to work order product. Now the field that we're looking for is the subject field, and if you try to look through it on your own, you'll find that it's not going to be there, but it definitely exists. However, it exists as a lookup field. So we're going to make sure we click this checkbox, and with it checked off, you will see right here as a lookup subject field. So this will be important for our table later on. You'll see why. So we're just going to click on that, click OK, and click OK. So that's our second table down, and now we're going to add one more table. It's going to be similar to the products table, just set up, actually similar, just slightly different fields. And that is our works order service table. For this table, we need estimate duration right here. Then we're going to need line status, and we're going to need name. Then with those 3 added, we're going to go here, and just like before, we're going to need the subject field, so we're going to include lookups. Going to go down, go to product, and then find subject down here. Then we're going to click OK, and now we have this table set up. And you can even see down here in the fields list, you'll see that we have our fields here with the subject field in the dropdown. You can, of course, double check your tables to make sure that's all set up and configured right before you proceed. All right. So that's it with setting up the tables. Now we need to actually create the tables. To create our table, what we need to do now is we need to make sure our cursor is in the right position, and we need to select the right table that we want to, add in. So for our tasks section here, we need to make sure that we go over here to our work order service task, table 1, and add that in. So this table is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to add it with a header, split header, and add 3 columns and hit OK here. Adjust the space a little bit. And then we're going to add in the estimated duration and percent complete. Of course, we're also going to add in the appropriate name, the appropriate column names. So estimated duration and percent completion. Okay, so that's the task table. Now we're going to move on to the product table. Same thing here, table, split header, and then 2, 3. And we're going to add estimate quantity and then line status. Add the respective column names, estimate quantity. Oops. Keyboard shifted on me again. Or we're just going to call this status. Okay, once again. And then to add the last table, do the same as mentioned above. So we're going to add name and 3 columns, okay, duration, line status, and then the column names. Estimated duration and status. Okay, now we've got those added in. That's looking good so far. But there's one more thing that we need to add to 2 of these tables. If you recall from the result, you saw that there were some grouping applied, and that's what we're going to do now. I'll show you exactly how you're going to apply grouping to these tables. Whenever you want to apply grouping to a table, you always want to make sure that you select the specific field within the table that you want to group by. So in our case, what we want to do here is we want to actually add in an additional field that we will remove directly from the table later, but the field that we still want to group the table by. And that is the subject field that we went out of our way to add. If we double click it, oops, sorry, wrong table. Let me select the right table. If we double click it, the field will be added. Now, this field basically shows which category this, in this case, product, would fall under. In this case, I think the subject for each of these products will just be product, which is good. We want to have that little bit of information in there. For the services table, it's going to be a little bit different, and you'll see that when we merge it, of course. But in this case, it's still important to categorize these, or still add the grouping in case there are other products that might be added that might be categorized a little bit differently. So we're going to add this field here, and then we're going to go over to the mscrm-addons tab, go to the edit table group, and then go to grouping. If we click this drop down, you'll see that there's a few different options, some of which are grayed out, but the one that's important for us right now is the mark grouping field. When we click on it, you will see that two blue bars appear on either side of the main table row. And these blue bars contain the field that we want to group by. So once we have that added, we actually do not need to keep this field in the table right now. We can actually just delete it. And this will not disrupt the grouping in any way. You can keep it if you want, but for my own personal, for me personally, I like to just delete it. So now we have these 2 header and footer rows applied, but you also do not necessarily need to keep both the header and footer. If you want, you can actually remove them. So if we go up and we select either the header or footer, and we'll select the footer in this case, if we go back over to grouping, you will see now that some of these are no longer grayed out. We will have a few options: add grouping header, remove grouping header, which is grayed out because it's not selected, add grouping footer, remove grouping footer, and of course remove grouping altogether. In this case, the header is good enough for us, so we want to just remove the grouping footer, and it will delete it just like that. So now we have only the grouping header for our grouping purposes. Now, for the next table, we want to do basically the exact same thing. We'll add the field in here, and we will select the field that we want to group by, go back up to grouping, mark grouping field, get the grouping applied, then we want to delete the field itself, and then delete the grouping footer. So now you will see that we have the grouping applied to this table and this table. We don't want to apply it to this table because for our purposes, we don't need to. So right now, our grouping is just limited to these 2 tables. So now that that's taken care of, we actually are done building up our template here. At least, let's see. We got all our fields here, we've got our general section all filled out, and we've got our tables added here. I think everything's looking good in order. So I think it's time to test out our template to make sure it truly is working as intended. So, as always, we got to make sure we save our template. We'll go up to the mscrm-addons tab, click the Save Template button, and we will save our work order template. And we're just going to call this work order. I'm going to go ahead and save, and then it'll be available for us to try out in our environment. So we're going to go down here, and I already have a work order record on hand. This is work order number 3, and this is the data that we're going to be merging it with. If we go over to our products, services, and tasks, you'll see that we have a few items listed out. Our products, we have 3 of. Our services, we have 4 of, and our service tasks, or in our case maybe just tasks, we also have 4 of. For the products and services, they will be grouped, and you will see how they'll be grouped, but they'll be grouped based on the data that we already have in our record itself. So, let me put myself here, and let's go ahead and create that document. Click on the Create Document button as usual, and we're gonna, well, that's the only template that we have, so we'll go ahead and click Next, the template that we've created. And it'll take a bit to read the metadata. We'll attach the document as a note, and we'll create the document. And it'll take a little bit to create the document, but you'll see here that we have our work order template. We can preview it, of course, but what we want to do here is we actually want to just check it out ourselves. So we're gonna click on it and download it. Now, one thing, of course, I also want to mention here is that you can see that we have the dynamic name applied that we applied at the start of this video. Work order and then the work order number. So already, that's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and open that. And here you will see that it looks like so far everything's good. We have our standard fields all listed. We have the information for our general section all filled out. And then, of course, we have our tables. For the first table, you will see the various tasks from our record listed out. Nothing unusual there. But for our products and services tables, you'll see that we have the grouping applied. Now, to note, for the products table, this is an interesting case, of course, because we only have these products that we have listed here. We're only considered just as regular products. So you'll only see one grouping section here. But for our services, 2 of these services were considered just as services, or the subject field for these products or services were just services. But for these 2 down here, the subject of these 2 services was maintenance. And so you will see that that both sections are grouped respectively. So with all of that observed and noted, it looks like everything is in order with our template, which means it looks like we're done with it. So with that said, I hope that this video was serving as a good visual guide for the sample template that we have. Of course, if you want to check out the sample template that we have and maybe even experiment with it yourself, you are more than welcome to do so. You can consider checking out the video description to the website that we have and, of course, to the respective article. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well for more videos. You can check out other videos that we have on our YouTube channel relating to our sample templates that we offer on our channel. And maybe you'll find something that will come to help you as well. So, once again, I hope this video was able to help you figure out how to best handle your work order templates. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.